what I would encourage fathers to do is fight for their family.
Yeah.
You know, I had in one sense, put my feelings aside to make sure that we made it through this season.
Yeah.
You know, I had to suck up. Sorry, it's a really hard thing for me to talk about because it was such a hard time getting this news, seeing him in the NICU. But after that, he has just been such a blessing. There is nothing like our son. Nothing like him. I would not trade him for the world, even if taking care of him is more challenging.
Tell me now what you stand on. We stand on truth. Stand on truth. We stand on the rock. Stand on the rock.
We have a very special guest here in the house, and it is my firstborn grandson, Aziel Jimenez Caracas. So Aziel was born with Down syndrome. And I have my daughter Aiza here and my son-in-law Leo. And, you know, as you guys probably know, a lot of talk about Down syndrome has been going around because of the YouTuber and his wife, Jesse Ridgway, who publicly announced the termination of their pregnancy due to the diagnosis that they received that their baby would potentially be born with Down syndrome. Now, you know, I think this is being used now for good because I think a lot of people, including myself, that don't have anybody with Down syndrome in their lives are ignorant to what Down syndrome is. So that's why I brought my daughter and my son-in-law here because their first child, Aziel here, was born with Down syndrome. Can you quickly, guys, can one of you guys quickly tell me if I'm just completely ignorant to what Down syndrome is, what is Down syndrome?
So Down syndrome, what it is, it's a third copy of your 21st chromosome, and it's not a hereditary disease. It's a genetic disease. It's something. So his particular case of Down syndrome, it just happens by chance. It's just random. It happens during conception that an extra chromosome just attaches itself, and he has a third copy of his 21st chromosome in every cell. So that's essentially what it is. It's just a third copy of the 21st chromosome. It's known as a trisomy 21. That's
okay,
what it is.
So it's not a disease. It's not like he wasn't born without a leg, or he wasn't born with it's an extra chromosome.
Exactly.
Right? And so what a lot of people I think what a lot of people are ignorant to is what does that mean, right? Because I'm sure that when you guys received the news, first thing that came to mind, because you were not, I'm sure you didn't know about this, right?
Right, correct, yeah.
All the information you now know is because you have a son with Down syndrome.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And so that's the thing that I think we're missing in the public is people need to understand Down syndrome. They need to understand what it is. Because a lot of people, the first thing that comes to mind is fear. Mm-hmm. Am I right?
Yes.
Yes.
When did you guys find out that Aziel had Down syndrome?
So we found out the day he was born. We didn't know prior. We didn't know anything. No one told us like that they were suspicious of anything, that they saw anything. We found out the day he was born. Mm-hmm.
So you decided that you weren't going to find out during your pregnancy?
No, yeah, we decided not to.
Why not?
It was just, our child is our child. Whatever the Lord deals us, we were happy with that. We're content with him. We're going to love him regardless.
Okay, so you have the baby, and then how soon after you had the baby did they tell you your son has Down syndrome?
It was the day he was born, it was the following day, because they had rushed him to the NICU that night when he was born, so we didn't get to confirm it the following day. When he was born, we saw it on his face.
Hold on, Leo. He has a different story. Apparently, he has a different story than yours. What's going on? Is that not how it happened? You remember it differently? Oh, you remember it differently. No, I'm kidding. We're gonna let Aziel go with his grandmama because we want to talk we want to continue to talk about this. So, as you were saying,
Yeah, yeah, we found out the next day, the doctors confirmed to us the next day that he had Down syndrome because like I said, that when he was born, he wasn't breathing, he was purple, and he had a trouble retaining oxygen, so they rushed him to the NICU. Yeah.
what was your first, Aiza, what was your first reaction? What did you feel when you were told that your baby has Down syndrome?
Well, I noticed it right when I saw him. Obviously, it was very like unexpected. It was. I guess the first thing when I saw him was the first word that came to my head was Down syndrome, but it was something that I didn't know. Well, we weren't expecting, right? So
Right.
we didn't talk about it. Nobody in the room was kind of talking about it. At the same time, he was swollen and he wasn't breathing, so we didn't have much time with him. But it was definitely the first thing that I saw when I first looked at him.
How did you feel?
Well, you said it, fear. Fear kicked in right away. And confusion, like you have this sense of, immediately I had this sense of there's a mistake. This is not the baby that I was supposed to be giving birth to. Even though he just came out of me like seconds before, But it was immediately fear, confusion.
Do you think that knowing what you know now about Down syndrome and having Aziel now, if you were to go back to that moment, right? Do you think you would feel the same?
No.
Do you think that the reason you thought it was a mistake is because you didn't know anything about
Of course,
Down
yeah.
syndrome?
I was looking at it through like a very stereotypical viewpoint. I think we often see Down syndrome and think the extremities of it because, we like you said, we're ignorant, right?
Yeah.
I've never researched Down syndrome. I didn't know what Down syndrome was. I didn't even know the science behind it. I had no idea that it was just an extra copy of your 21st chromosome. I had no idea. All I know is I've seen Down syndrome before. I've always thought they were the cutest, sweetest things, but it's different when you give birth to one.
Yeah.
And you don't educate yourself like I didn't until I had Aziel.
So that's exactly why I believe that we're talking about it, this podcast, and I think a lot of people are talking about it now. Which I think that the Bible says that what the devil tries to do, and for harm, God uses it and He works it for good. And I think that these YouTubers or whatever they are, influencers, announcing this, really, I think the devil was trying to use this to promote death, because that really is what this is. And one thing that caught my attention about you, Aiza, specifically, is that when I found out about this and I heard about it, I became angry. And when I talked to you about it, you didn't have that anger. You actually said something that caught my attention. You said, I feel sorry for them that they'll never get to experience the joy that their baby would have brought to their lives.
Yeah, for sure.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I saw one of the things that Jesse Ridgway said, and he's speaking out of pure plain ignorance, right? Because he says, I'm reading the majority. He says something along the lines of, and I'm gonna probably butcher it because it's not word for word right in my face, but he says something along the lines of, I'm reading your guys' comments basically, and I'm reading that the majority of you have no idea what Down syndrome entails. And I'm reading that and I'm like, clearly you have no idea what Down syndrome entails, because had you known what Down syndrome entails, you would have never aborted your baby. You would have never terminated his life,
And that's why I think that this is important, that more people are talking about the realities of Down syndrome, because what he's doing, and he does have a platform, unfortunately, he's misleading people,
right.
And he's giving false information about what Down syndrome really is. And so there are a lot of people in their situation that do get tested and do have the diagnosis, and the way he is describing Down syndrome is in a very bad, negative way.
Right.
And so what he's doing is he's influencing, because that's what they are, influencers, more people to terminate their pregnancy due to this diagnosis.
Right.
But the reality is that I love how you said that the worst part about this is that because that baby is in heaven, we believe that life belongs to the Lord.
Amen.
So really, the harm that they cause the baby is just temporal. It's not going to be permanent. It's temporal. That baby is with the Lord, but they'll never get to experience the joy that you and Leo and really all of our family has been able to experience with having this life.
Yeah.
Right, this life that, by the way, there's a YouTube video of Jesse going on TMZ, and you know I'll play it to you guys. I don't know if you've watched it, but I'm gonna show you what he says.
Say goodbye. Quick. Yeah, of course I'm glad my dad didn't terminate me. But I'm normal. So
He says yes. Of course, somebody asked him, "Aren't you glad that?" Apparently, there was a question asked to him whether he's glad that his dad didn't terminate his life, and he's like, "Well, of course, I'm glad that my dad didn't effing terminate me." And then you can see how he can't even look at the camera when he says what he says next, because he's not even sure about what he's saying. Right? It's almost like he's embarrassed of saying it. He kind of looks down, and under his breath, he says, "But I'm normal." You know, and that's, I think to me, that is the most ironic thing to say in the world that we live in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where
Very.
I was at Target the other day my wife was at Target the other day and she sees a young kid with a tail sticking out of their rear end. And she tells me about this, and we know that these people think that they are what they call furries, I guess. Have you guys heard of the furries?
Yeah, we have. Yeah.
Right? Where they think that they are an animal. And so when Jesse said, "But I'm normal," I'm thinking, what is normal?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, what in the world is normal? Because when you look at somebody who's a human being and they are acting as an animal, that is not normal. Right? And so we've kind of, as a culture, we've kind of defined normal in the most illogical way. You know, we obviously know when somebody has Down syndrome because they look different. They look different than what we call normal. But doesn't everybody in the world look different?
Right.
That's what amazes me, is that everybody is different.
Yeah.
Everybody looks different. And so I don't understand what he meant when he says, "But I'm normal." I mean, what you guys tell me, what has been abnormal about raising Aziel these 8 months? Tell me something that, because he has Down syndrome, has been abnormal. Does he eat different? Does he sleep different? Does he poop different?
I mean, I would say that the only abnormal thing that I've experienced with him is just the amount of love and joy you get out of him.
Yeah.
That's like the
That's
only
awesome.
abnormal, because it's like you don't get to experience that with anybody else.
Wow.
Nobody else. Really, truly. He's only 8 months, but still, there's just something about him that's
Yeah.
so special. It's so special.
It's
really
abnormal.
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what's
That's what it
abnormal.
feels
Yeah,
like,
because
yeah.
that's totally against anything else we see in this world. We don't get something like that. You know, something so full of love and joy like he does.
And you know, it's interesting that you say that. My wife the other day said, and I don't know if she saw this somewhere or read it somewhere, but that their smiles, right? Kids with Down syndrome or people with Down syndrome bring healing. And I'm like, man, I should have done a little bit more research on that
It's true.
to talk about it more. But just without even doing any research,
Yeah.
I can tell you that even before my grandson was born, if I just ran into a person with Down syndrome at Albertsons or at a coffee shop, it just brought this sense of peace.
Yeah.
Or I don't know, joy, or like I just smiled because it's like almost contagious.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
absolutely.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like this. It literally is like a healing for the
It
moment.
really is. Yeah.
And so can you imagine, well, you guys can, but can you out there imagine having somebody like that in your life full time? Right? It's like that little experience that you feel just by seeing one of these people smile on their face, you can have that full time. And these people really could have had that in their lives.
Yeah.
And that's what I think caught my attention the most of your reaction, Aiza, is when you said the saddest thing about this situation is that they'll never get to experience the joy and the peace and the laughter that this baby could have brought to their lives.
And when I say that, I genuinely mean that, because I remember coincidentally, which I believe it was all the Lord, the lead nurse who actually took him to the NICU, the lead nurse from the NICU who took him the day he was born, came in, checked his vitals, checked his breathing, and she's the one that determined whether he needed to go to the NICU or not. We saw her, she's a part-time nurse there. So we saw her, she was super sweet. She's the one that drew blood later on in the NICU, and she finished her shift. And then I think it was like maybe 2 or 3 days later, she comes back to work, and she's during the day, and she asks, we're talking to her. She's super sweet. She was like, oh, I'm so happy you guys were here. She's like, well, I'm not happy you're here, but I was hoping to see you guys. And she was like, did they talk to you about his features? And we're like, yeah, we did. They did. We noticed it right off the bat. And she goes, I have a son who's Down syndrome. And she's a young girl, her and her husband, young couple. They have 4 kids. And her third one came out with Down syndrome. Yeah. I think he was 3 at the time. And so I'm assuming he's probably 4, which I still have communication with her. And she's talking to me like it's the best thing, on the planet. Like, she's like, she's like, he's extra special. He's extra loving, extra this, extra that. She's just like, they're extra in every way, Yeah. And I watched a video one time that says at the beginning, when you first get a diagnosis of your child having Down syndrome, you hear all these people that have experienced it, and you think that they're just telling you because it's the right thing to say, right? And he said, I am years later, and I can honestly say, like, it's the best thing ever.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
And, at the beginning, I felt the same way. Like, she's trying to comfort us, trying to make us feel better, right, about our diagnosis. And now I look back and I'm like, she was 100% right. Yeah. Like, it's the best thing ever. It genuinely is the best thing ever. Amen.
Yeah. And there's I was trying to look for it. Maybe we can find it. There's a case study that they did on people with Down syndrome, and they asked them some questions, and the questions were basically about their lives. At 12, I think the age was 12 and older. They asked them questions about whether they're happy in life, and whether they are happy with the way they look, and whether they feel like they can make friends. And my wife's looking for it right now, but I don't want to mess it up, but man, most of the answers were positive, right? And you look at our culture today and you see some of the most beautiful young girls today, and they're suicidal.
Yeah.
And they are insecure.
Yeah.
And they look normal, right? They look beautiful. They could be models. There was a guy that was, we were doing a transaction, and he kind of went MIA for a little bit, and good looking guy. I'm sure his daughter was a good looking girl. I never met the girl, but we were like, oh, where did so-and-so go? We haven't gotten any email interaction. Well, his 16-year-old daughter had just committed suicide.
Yeah.
And she had it all. She had it all. She had, her father, who was wealthy and financially set, and he was actually a pilot, and he used to take her on flight lessons, and she was a popular student. Everybody loved her. I'm sure she was good looking. All the boys probably wanted to date her. Had it all. Lived in the LA area. And what could drive a girl like that to end her life? And I think how ironic that here people with Down syndrome are happy with their lives, and the rest of the world are saying, terminate them because they're not normal. Yeah. How does what does that tell people? How backwards are we today? How backwards is our culture today, where you've got people that we see as normal ending their lives, and people that we see as not normal happy as can be.
It's ironic, yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's why I believe we need to talk about this, because when you have people like this influencer talking about it and justifying why he did it and convincing other people that are really ignorant about the whole topic to do the same, in my opinion, that is backwards. Yeah. And that is evil. And so I think more people need to talk about what Down syndrome really is.
Yeah.
So I don't know if did we find the case study? It's in let's see my text real quick. Okay. So here we go. 79% of parents report a more positive outlook on life because of their children. Would you guys agree?
100%.
Okay. It says studies show a powerful emotional impact. Nearly 99% of people with Down syndrome are happy with their lives. Does that surprise you?
No.
I mean, when you look at people with Down syndrome, I think 99% of the time they've got a smile on their face.
Yeah,
Right,
they
yeah.
do, yeah.
So I think the study really reflects the proof is in the pudding.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What about the rest of us? I mean, never mind. Try driving in LA traffic. Okay, so 99% of people with Down syndrome are happy with their life. 97% of people with Down syndrome like who they are. They actually like who they are. It's insane that we're saying that these people are not normal. That Jesse could have said that. Well, at least I'm normal, right? It's like, are you really though? I mean, have you looked at yourself in the mirror? I mean, I need to look at myself in the mirror and ask myself what normal is, you know? Sometimes I feel like maybe I wish I would be happier with my life and who I am
Yeah.
and be more grateful about life. 99% of people with Down syndrome love their families. Guys, I don't know about you, but have you guys seen how our culture, families hate each other?
Yeah.
You know, I have a lot of friends with teenage children. And in today's culture, it almost feels like these teenage kids hate their parents. They lock themselves in their rooms. They're stuck on their phones and iPads and this and that. And it's like, you know, the way they talk to their parents. You guys can hear Aziel. He is such a happy baby. He's part of the 99% of the people with Down syndrome that are happy with their lives. Yeah, he is happy. Yeah, he is.
Very happy.
Bring him back over here. Let's get him back over here.
He's tired.
He might be tired. Come here. Come here. Come here. Let me see if I can get him to smile. Is he like, huh? There it is. There it is. So, the last thing it says is, 97% of people with Down syndrome, 99% of people with Down syndrome love their families. Not just like their families, they love their families. And that's incredible because there's so much division in families. There's so many families that are broken up. How many families do you guys know that are broken up?
Tons.
Right?
A lot of them.
And kids hating their parents, you know, siblings and parents and divorce. And I think if more people had that extra chromosome, more families would stay together. You know what I mean? More families would actually love each other. And that's the thing that what has this culture come down to that we call hatred and division
Normal.
and death normal?
Yeah.
That's what we call
insane.
normal. But yet we call people that look a little different than us, that are always smiling, abnormal. Doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. So it says the idea that a smile from someone with Down syndrome brings healing stems from positive psychology and the profound emotional connections these individuals foster. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
I mean, it's almost like it attracts you, right?
Yeah.
It draws you to them.
Yeah.
Now that I have a grandson with Down syndrome, I mean, I I see people with Down syndrome now all the time, and I just want to sit there and talk to them.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I can't wait till he can talk, so I can have conversations with him, because I'm sure they're going to be some pretty positive conversations. You know, you're so used to having negative conversations with people, and they're complaining all the time,
Yeah.
and it's like such a discouragement sometimes to talk to people, right? That I think that if we talk to people with Down syndrome more, we'd get a lot more positive conversations out of them.
Absolutely.
What do you think, Leo?
I 100% agree. I really do. I think they just have a perception of the world that's so innocent.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we've lost in this society. You know, and that's what makes them so special, is that they retain that innocence, you know? And I believe that's what it is. That's what attracts people to them so much.
Yeah. Okay, so let me ask you a question. I'm going to ask each of you this question. We're going to go ladies first. If you could speak to Jesse Ridgway and his wife, what message would you give them?
Well, what message would I give them? I guess there's a couple things, right? I would definitely, first and foremost, share personal experience, right? I understand the initial emotional reaction and response, right? There's no judgment, no condemnation for how you feel in the moment when you hear a diagnosis. It's not something to, it's not something light, right? When you first hear that your child has Down syndrome.
Definitely not something to celebrate at the time.
Definitely not something to celebrate.
Yeah.
It's not easy, right? So, we can sympathize and empathize with that, right? That there was an initial reaction or response that was a different emotions, fear, frustration, confusion, questions, why me? Now I look back and I just say, Lord, why me? In the sense, like, why'd you choose me to be so lucky, to be so blessed? At the time, it was like, felt like a punishment almost,
Yeah.
Now looking back, it's like, Lord, what did I do so good to deserve this? That's how I feel, But so I think, that's number one. Number two is one of the posts that they posted said all kinds of different statistics that just looks like they just looked up like ChatGPT, what does Down syndrome entail, and it was like 50% heart defects, so such and such, congenital heart disease, like such and such lose their hearing, such and such lose their eyesight, and
it was all the negative.
It was
things.
all the the negative statistics, right? And again, that's viewing it through a stereotypical viewpoint, because we are parents of a Down syndrome, and he's 8 months, and he was in the NICU for 16 days for not being able to retain oxygen, right? He has a heart issue that can creep in later on in life, but it's not something that's unfixable. It's something that now, with the technology that we have, that, they can repair and replace this aortic valve that he would need to later on, decades down. And he hears perfectly fine. He passed his audiology screening.
Well, what you're telling me, somebody posted a post, and I haven't confirmed it, but if it is true, okay, allegedly, this family has a pet dog,
right,
that has some disabilities.
Yeah.
And what I saw these people post was, how can they terminate their baby in the womb because of this so-called disability, yet they've spent thousands of dollars and effort
trying to
give this dog an opportunity at a normal life.
Yeah.
So it almost, and this is allegedly, right? I haven't done the research myself to find out, but I'm sure nobody would post something like that that's made up, right? If they in fact do have a pet dog that has disabilities, and they've spent effort and time and money to try to give this dog a normal life, they are basically saying that dog's life is worth more than their human baby's life.
Yeah.
Doesn't that amaze you?
Yeah.
And so what you're telling me is, yeah, there's going to be
Challenges.
Challenges. So we're not going to.
But we all have challenges. We
Some
all
more
have
than others, right?
I mean,
So there's going to be some challenges, right? There's going to be some challenges that are not out of this world.
yeah.
I mean, we, like you said, we all have challenges. I'm still dealing with some of my challenges, right? And by the grace of God, we get through it. And so,
And just to touch on the challenges, right? Like, for example, Down syndromes have what's called hypotonia, where they have weaker muscle tone. So you have to work them a little bit more. They have to work a little bit harder than the child that doesn't have a diagnosis of Down syndrome, right? They have to work a little bit more to meet their milestones. Crawling and walking, that's where physical therapy comes in. Occupational therapy, they have motor skills therapy for their cognitive thinking and different therapies. ASIEL, right? For example, the average child rolls on their tummy, from their tummy to their back, around 3 months. Typically, it's around 3 months. ASIEL started rolling over from his stomach to his back the day before he turned 1 month. And so we tell that to the therapists, right? And the doctors, and they're like, that's not even normal for a child without a disability, right? So it's like you can't just Google, what does Down syndrome entail, because it entails different things for different babies. Not all babies are going to have, for example, I know a lot of cases like the nurse, her son, I wouldn't be able to deal with this, so thank God, but her baby had open heart surgery when he was a baby. ASIEL didn't have to have open heart surgery,
but
right?
when you say you wouldn't be able to deal with that, I think that's because you haven't. But I'm sure she probably thought that too, right? And
yeah,
and the reality is that we do deal with it.
Obviously,
and we get
if
through
it was right in my face, what am I going to do? I'm saying emotionally, I
Right.
feel like I'm too weak for that. Do you get what I'm saying?
But I think you probably felt you were too weak to have a Down syndrome
For
baby.
sure, absolutely.
So what I'm trying to say is hear these people say there was a 95% chance that the baby was going to be born with Down syndrome. That means that there was actually a 5%
Right.
chance that he could have been born without Down syndrome.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't even give the baby that chance.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two is I can almost say that the challenges that they were going to have to deal with could have been very minimal.
Yeah.
Even if the baby would have been born with Down syndrome. In fact, I think they're probably more challenged with this pet dog
For sure.
of theirs
For
than
sure.
with a baby with Down syndrome. I mean,
Right.
obviously, my grandson is not mine. I don't have him every day, so I don't know what you guys deal with. But when he comes to our house, there's absolutely no challenges.
Right.
It's like, and that's the perks of being grandparents, not parents. But, but I think babies are challenges, period. Like, you got to change diapers. They cry. They keep you up at night.
Yeah.
And I don't see any, I don't know, maybe it's from an ignorant perspective. I don't see any challenges that are abnormal
Right.
in my grandson.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's actually the opposite. It's like what you said, Leo. Like the only abnormal thing is how much joy he brings.
Yeah, that's right.
Just when he smiles, it's priceless.
Yeah.
It really is.
I like the way Leo says it. He said when he smiles, you can see the extra chromosome in his smile, right? And I just think I don't know.
That's
I think
awesome.
that's what it is, that there's that smile that they have, right? That it warms your heart so much more than just, like a person that's not diagnosed with Down syndrome, right? To stray from abnormal and normal, right? A person without a diagnosis.
Leo, I'm going to ask you a question. If you could speak to fathers whose wives are pregnant and maybe they've received the diagnosis and they're right in the middle of the decision whether they should terminate this pregnancy or not, what would you say to these fathers?
Well, I would highly encourage them to follow through with the pregnancy, to have that baby. Speaking from my own experience with Asiel being in the NICU, those challenges are difficult. With whether he has Down syndrome or no, your baby being in the NICU,
Right.
it's hard. It's
Yeah.
difficult. Even more so at that time, me and my ignorance, right? And all I'm hearing is these negative things with Down syndrome, right? Now they have high chances of congenital heart disease, all these different things. Like, this is all you're hearing at the very beginning. And then on top of that, you know, it was our first time hearing that he had Down syndrome, you know? It was a very confusing time. But what I would encourage fathers to do is fight for their family.
Yeah.
You know, I had to, in one sense, put my feelings aside to make sure that we made it through this season.
Yeah.
You know, I had to suck up. Sorry, it's a really hard thing for me to talk about because it was such a hard time getting this news, seeing him in the NICU. But after that, he has just been such a blessing. There is nothing like our son. Nothing like him. I would not trade him for the world, even if taking care of him is more challenging. You know, it just makes you appreciate life so much more.
Mm-hmm.
It just makes you see the grace of God in your life, that you, a wretched sinner, can find a love so pure. So I would encourage fathers out there to jump right on in and experience that same love.
Yeah.
You know, because a lot of, I don't know, like, people's backgrounds and history, but a lot of time as men, you know, we like to suck up our emotions and we like to bury them down deep. We like to be macho. But man, having SL has made me so much more vulnerable.
Yeah.
You know, it's made me even connect more with my wife, you know. And it just only builds your family together, makes them stronger. I have not experienced anything negative about having a Down syndrome to the point where it would even make me consider terminating him. You know, religious views aside, you know what I mean? Because I know a lot of people aren't religious, you know what I mean? But even more so, just knowing Christ, it makes you have this extra layer of what this unconditional love is.
Yeah.
You know?
That's right.
So anyway, yeah, that would be my message for those fathers out there, you know, not to be discouraged. The feelings are completely understandable.
Yeah.
They are. But fight for your family. Really, really. Fight for your family.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Leo. I know that wasn't easy to talk about because you know, you guys just recently went through this, and it almost sounds like all it does is bring your family closer together.
Yeah.
It almost sounds like, you know, this experience has just strengthened your marriage. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, and for newlyweds, it's a blessing.
Yeah.
To go through something that strengthens your marriage, because we live in a culture that is just so much out there that breaks marriages apart. Mm-hmm. That to go through something like this right off the gate, it's like a blessing, you know, to go through it together side by side. And I've seen you guys, you know, with that baby, and it's the most amazing thing. You know, you said something that it just intrigued me just now. I haven't even thought about it, but you know, when you're going through this and here they come with the news, especially when you don't even know until the baby's born, right? But I think it's the same when you take by the way, what's the test called, Aiza, when they want to test you to see if there's any abnormalities, right?
I think it's called NPT, like the prenatal screen, or
the prenatal screening or whatever
like,
it is.
I don't really.
Okay.
I saw something NPT or
Yeah.
something.
We when my wife and I had our most recent our last baby, we refused the test as well because we thought the same thing, right? Whatever the Lord gives us, we're gonna have this baby. We're gonna raise this baby, right?
Yeah.
And but here's the intriguing question that I have. When that test comes and they say, okay, this is the diagnosis, or when you don't take the test and the baby comes and they say, hey, your baby has Down syndrome, do they ever say anything positive about it?
No.
Did they tell you one positive
The
thing?
nurse that has a Down syndrome, yes.
But she has a Down syndrome
she has
baby
a Down
herself,
but the
right?
doctors know.
But as a whole, right? The staff, the medical staff, the nursing department, the doctors, anybody, do they say anything positive about having a Down syndrome baby?
No, they don't. And I remember this one time, I think it was the first time that we got offered this. The nurse which was, it was during one of my wife's checkups during her pregnancy, just to see how the baby was doing and stuff.
Yeah.
She was at the time, she was at the point to where they were able to do the test. And, well, we asked her, we were curious, like, well, what does this do? What does this test mean?
Yeah,
What,
we didn't know,
yeah,
right?
because we didn't know
what
about
that
it,
was.
right? So as she's explaining it to us, she's saying, like, well, it's like this blood test, it's this genetic screening to, like, see, predict what the baby's going to be born with. And then from there, depending on what you find, you can decide what to do.
Yeah.
So it was the way in which she was speaking encourages, like,
It's like
it's
Encourages
it's like doom
opposite.
and gloom.
Right.
I remember when they came and they asked my wife and I, it's, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The way you just said it is the
Uh-huh.
way she brought the message to us, and I'm like, and it almost like she almost insisted after I told her, well, we're not doing the test, and she almost like was taken aback by that. Like, what do you mean? And I said, well, because we believe that we're pro-life, and no matter
yeah.
what the pregnancy turns out to be, we're going to keep this baby, so we
course.
don't need to know.
Right.
Yeah,
Because the
exactly.
message is kind of like you said, Leo, it's almost like preparing you to terminate.
Right, yeah, and I believe that that's what is pushed. Like if you do find something you're not happy with, just terminate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's almost like the environment.
agenda.
Yeah, exactly. Like
There's like an agenda.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah.
and so that's why we're talking about this. That's why we need more people talking about this. I want to encourage anybody watching that has a Down syndrome son, daughter, brother, sister, doesn't matter. Talk about it. Talk about it in your spheres of influence. Talk about it on your platforms, whether it's social media, whether it's church groups, whether it's whatever circle of people you're around. Let's talk about Down syndrome. It's like almost like, I mean, people are afraid to talk about it like it's taboo, like there's something wrong with talking about Down syndrome. No, Down syndrome is a blessing. It's an
Yeah.
extra chromosome. It
is.
extra love. It's extra joy. It's like, yes, extra challenges, but you get through them and you grow stronger as a family, as a marriage, as parents, as husband, as wife, as grandparents. It's such an amazing experience that because people are not talking about it and nobody really knows, right? We always fear the unknown, regardless of what it is, right?
Yeah.
We always fear the unknown. And that's what I think is the case here with Down syndrome. People are afraid of what they don't know.
Yeah.
And so if we talk about the realities, not the ChatGPT negative statistics about it,
Right.
not what we hear about it, but actually what the people that have actually lived and are living with this blessing. I think if we talk about it more, then we're going to quiet all the persuasion and the trying to convince people to terminate. We're going to quiet that down. And people, I think, are going to be like, wow, man, it's almost exciting to think of having a baby with Down syndrome.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's almost like, man, why not?
Yeah.
God, if I have found grace in your eyes that I could have a baby with Down syndrome, that'd be amazing. I'd receive it.
I remember the nurse, she said, it's a feeling that I can't explain. She said, I wish everybody was able to get the chance to experience this, what we get to experience, And one thing is so important about Down syndromes is they have a resilience that the majority of people don't have. It's like when we put Asiel on his tummy, he's 1 month old, right? Fresh out the NICU. And he starts just fighting by himself, just to fight, just to push himself over. And he accomplishes it. And, I was talking to the nurse the other day and via text, and she was telling me about her son, how he just went through a couple procedures with his tonsils and with something in his ears. And she's like, but what's the craziest part through it all was that through it all, he was smiling. And it's just like, it's, he's going through all this. He's a little boy going through this, these procedures. And she's like, and he's smiling through the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's like the resilience, that they have is just unheard of.
I had to shave my beard because when he grabbed my beard, he would not let it go. And I think today, I don't know if he left some marks, but he grabbed my neck.
Oh yeah.
And so I understand the resilience. But here's what I want to end with. God made each and every one of us perfectly, according to His image. Mm. Down syndrome, no Down syndrome, missing leg, missing extra pinky. It doesn't matter. See, we judge the outside, but we don't see what God sees.
Right.
And so, Aiza, you have 30 seconds to talk into that camera to a woman who's pregnant right now and has received a diagnosis that her baby is potentially going to be born with Down syndrome. What do you want to say to that woman?
Oh man, 30 seconds. Sheesh. Well, it's hard to sum up in 30 seconds, right? But pretty much, I guess, just what we've talked about. It's I guess like what Leo said, you keep fighting, you persevere, because the reward that you receive with this life that you birth is beyond what you could have imagined, what you could ever imagine. It's so rewarding and to receive, to have a baby that, a baby with this diagnosis. It's just, I don't really have much words to explain it. If you haven't experienced it, it's hard, but give yourself the opportunity to experience what the rest of us mothers and fathers who have a Down syndrome baby or a child has experienced.
Don't forget grandfathers.
Grandfathers and grandmothers.
We enjoy them just as much. I mean, we don't get to enjoy them.
Don't listen to the negative statistics. Like I said, every baby entails different things. Down syndrome or not, every baby is going to come with challenges. But yeah. And
last question. Give me 3 interesting facts about Down syndrome that I wouldn't know, or you would have even known. You wouldn't have even known, right? Like the extra chromosome, you even know what it's called. Like I have a hard time remembering what it's called because I don't have, somebody in my child with Down syndrome. I never had to deal with it. But those are things like 3 facts that now you know, not because you went to school, not because you're doctors, not because you did a lot of research, but because you actually have a child with Down syndrome now. So give me three facts about Down syndrome that people that are watching right now have no clue about Down syndrome. There's just no clue.
3 facts about Down syndrome. I mean, I can't get too scientific because I myself struggle with those big words. Okay.
Well, let's just say this. What's the extra chromosome called?
So it's trisomy 21. It's known as trisomy 21 because we all have 46 chromosomes in our body, right? Mm-hmm. And so each chromosome has 2 copies, right? Chromosome 1 has 2 copies. Chromosome 2 has all the way up until, what is it,
23, because if they all have 2, then
23, and then
times 2 is 46.
It's like X and Y or X and X, right?
Okay.
Is the male or female, right? So the 21st is, so if you see Asiel, maybe we can give him a copy of Asiel's chromosome analysis, and then you can see there's an arrow that points to chromosome 21, and there's an extra copy of the 21st chromosome. Yeah, so that's in every single cell of Asiel's body. Trisomy 21 is in every single cell of the body. There's an extra copy of the 21st chromosome.
So then the fact, I mean, that's an very interesting fact that most people didn't know.
I didn't know until
right?
I had Asiel.
Yeah, and so then people that don't have Down syndrome have 46
correct
chromosomes.
In every
there's 23 times 2.
Yes.
X and Y. And then people with Down syndrome have 47.
Yes. Yeah.
Which, by the way, the number 6 is, in the Bible, it's known as the devil's number, and the number 7 in the Bible is known as God's number. So I don't know, but there's something there, right?
For sure.
I mean, and I think it's what Leo said. They have this innocence about them that we don't.
Yeah. Their perception of life.
We all have a sin nature, and I'm sure the people with Down syndrome have a sin nature as well. But they also have this innocence.
Yeah.
That they're not aware of their sin nature as much as we are.
Yeah.
You understand? And so, what's another fact? Thank you for sharing. That's a really interesting fact. 46 versus 47.
So another fact about Down syndrome is that there's different, I guess you could call them different forms of it. For example, there's one called mosaic. And that one is, so a cell has trisomy 21, which is an extra copy in every cell. Mm-hmm. Mosaic, it's they have an extra copy in some cells.
And not all of the cells,
right.
But some of the cells.
So in some of the cells, they have that extra copy. So, yeah. So
called mosaic.
It's called
like mosaic law, like the Mosaic law?
Yeah, mosaic.
Yeah.
Mosaic, that word, but yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
it's mosaic.
So it's interesting because they look like the average person.
They can look like an average person.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
They don't look like the people
they
with
can.
Down syndrome normally look.
I guess another interesting fact would be, but again, this is not in all cases, right? So
Sure.
if they give you a list, the doctors will give you a list of what are characteristics and traits that a Down syndrome would have, right? And obviously in all your studying, you start to learn these things, right? So for example, we all have in our hand, like our lines go like this and like that, right?
Like an M.
Like an up and like a down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and again, ACL doesn't have this, but this is the majority of Down syndromes will probably have this sign, is they only have one line straight through, straight through their hand.
Wow.
So up and down is like what we would have that don't have Down syndrome, but then the one line is what a normal Down syndrome. Another thing is their toes, their feet would have like between their first toe and second toe, they would have like a huge gap between. And then they would have something on their tongue. We've examined Asiel and he doesn't have
times,
it, but yeah, for example.
So is this what you're talking about?
That's
here?
exactly what I'm talking about.
So we're talking about a line kind of like...
You just moved it, but...
Which way? Okay, we're right here. So a line kind of like that.
Yes, exactly.
Wow. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah. So that's another
That's
interesting
cool.
fact.
Yeah.
One more fact, and then we're gonna end this very important. I don't think we're gonna end it. I think we'll continue it in the
Yeah.
future because we need to continue to talk about this
Yeah.
to educate the people about Down syndrome. What a blessing it is. So, what's one more fact that you guys can share with us, ignorant folk, about Down syndrome?
I guess I would just reiterate that it's not a it's a genetic disorder.
That's right, yeah,
It's not hereditary. So just because someone in my family may have Down syndrome does not mean that my children are at higher risk of having Down syndrome. It's not like something like cancer, where cancer can be hereditary. It's just a genetic disorder. It's just something that happens.
And I think that's a very important fact
Yeah.
because I think the majority, I don't even think the doctors fully know or understand, because I remember the neonatologist, he was like pushing us to get this test ourselves, right? Because he says, I would hate for you to have more children. You guys are young. I would hate for you to have more children. And the same thing happened. And so when we finally ended up getting the genetic screening after Asiel was out of the NICU, we finally got his chromosome, his genetic screening. And they make you talk to a genetic counselor beforehand, right, to ask you questions. And the one thing she said was, it is very important to know that there's a clear distinction between hereditary and genetic. She said this is a genetic disorder and not a hereditary one. So the doctors was pushing us to get a genetic testing for, the sake of not having future children with Down syndrome, but the chances are very, very low because of the fact that it's not hereditary. So in the future, you know, Asiel could have his own children and not have a Down syndrome child because it's not a hereditary thing. It's not something that can be passed along.
I just chat GPT'd what is the best thing of having a Down syndrome child. And this is what it says. It says common themes reported by parents include deep affection and warmth, joy in everyday moments, stronger family bonds, compassion and empathy, a different perspective on success, which I find interesting,
that one.
right? Because our culture has this idea of what success means, right? And at the end of the day, we know that wealth and money has never made anybody happy.
Right.
But here's the interesting part about it. What I wanted to say here is studies have even noted that some researchers call Down syndrome advantage, where many families report high levels of satisfaction and positive well-being compared with what people might expect when they first receive the diagnosis.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean there are no challenges. Medical, educational, and developmental needs can be significant, but many parents say the rewards are far outweigh the difficulties.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For sure.
Would you guys think that ChatGPT is accurate?
And yeah,
In that,
absolutely.
yes, I would say.
So see, it's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's your perspective on life. Whatever you think, that's going to be the reality.
Yeah.
Whatever you're looking for, you're going to find it. And I think that, unfortunately, this influencer family were looking for all the negative things about Down syndrome, and that's what they found. And they're preaching that to our culture. But, man, the rewards are so much, by far, outweigh any negative thing you can possibly.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys for coming. I know this is this is nothing to be ever, that's another thing, nothing to ever be ashamed of if you're a parent or a relative of a child with Down syndrome. It's quite the opposite. I almost show my grandson off to people and I tell them, like, I want to educate them about Down syndrome now because it's not taboo.
Right.
It's not a bad word.
Right.
It's not a bad thing. It's a blessing
Yeah.
that you can be so proud of.
Yeah.
And be
Absolutely.
so joyful and grateful for that. It's nothing to hide. It's nothing to not talk about. Quite the opposite. Let's talk about Down syndrome.
Yeah.
Let's stand on truth, people. Thank you. Hey, let's bring that baby back over here real quick. Come on. We're finishing up. Let's have Aziel say bye. Oh my goodness. Here, hold on. We can't end without having this baby boy say bye. We're going to have these baby boys say bye. We're going to have these baby boys say bye.
Yeah, it's good.
It's okay.
Yeah, you can
Bye,
wipe
baby
it.
boy.
It's
Say
okay.
bye to everybody. Say bye to everybody. Let's say bye. Let's say bye, baby boy. Bye. Bye. Let me see your hand. Oh, you got the M like everybody. You got the M like me. Look at that smile. Oh, come on.